So here's a quick tour of the computer that we've set up for you to use for 3D printing. You've got Google Chrome as a web browser. You can get into other browsers by going to the Start menu, and you've got Firefox and Microsoft Edge, whatever other ones you might want to use. But Google Chrome I've configured already for you so that it pops up with 3 useful pages. We've got Solve 3D. This is for this project, and I'll post up kind of information that might be useful for any kind of project that you might want to do. So that's printer installation, how to set up and run the software, and I'll run you through a quick version of that on here. Some prosthetic specific information, which I'll fill out a little bit more as we start figuring out what you need. A particular interest here is this Enable Hub, which has a lot of volunteers that try to make free prosthetics for people around the world, and this link right here, which takes you to the second tab that you have open, which is the instructions for how to use Enable devices. So it kind of has information about which design, how to do sizing, which is probably particularly important and useful for you, and then it has the different designs that we have already available. So you can click on one of those and it will take you to the link that kind of describes a couple features of the designs. You can scroll down to see pictures, and then links to instructions and how to assemble everything in 3D printable download files. That would be the STL files. And most of these will take you to the website called Thingiverse, so you can click on those and see the STL, see the files for how to do it, and how to assemble these things. And most of these have instructions in the bottom with different print settings that you might want to use. Okay, and then the last kind of tab that opens up automatically is this website called Tinkercad. You'll need to set up an account on it so you can sign in and create your own account with just an email address. And once you do that, you get access to all sorts of learning utilities to start learning how to do 3D printing and 3D design. So they'll teach you some basic CAD if you want to learn how to create your own designs. So that's the Google Chrome browser. We also have some calibration 3D objects in this folder. So these sample G-codes, these are what your printer can print with, and we've loaded up a bunch of them that are specific to your printer. So these you could put right onto an SD card, and you could put them in the printer and they would print right away. A lot of these were probably included on your printer SD card already. We also have another folder called Prosthetic Designs, and inside of here I've put the most popular designs that are the most well-tested and the most well-documented for 3D printed designs. We've got a variety of different arms, and then when you click on those, you can get into the files, and the files you're looking for are these things called 3D objects. And these are STLs, and these STLs are what you use to actually load into the printer software to actually cut up into layers to actually print. And then the different files, the different folders all have different kind of features inside of them. Some of them have something like this thing called OpenSCAD, and this is just another type of 3D design software that you can use to scale your hands and make different sizes that you might want. So that's what OpenSCAD is. So I can open that and show you the quick page that will pop up. OpenSCAD is a free software to use for 3D design. If you had an OpenSCAD file you wanted to open, so if I go to Open, I should be able to find that on my desktop. I have my prosthetic designs, my hands, or my arms, and in particular this Kwawu one I know has OpenSCAD files, so I can open this up in OpenSCAD. I believe the Kwawu is the only one that really has the OpenSCAD files available that I've given you, but there are a variety of other designs that might use this. The documentation for this, to learn how to use this, it takes a little bit of reading, and you kind of need to do some tutorials that you can find online, but that will describe what all of this stuff is. OpenSCAD is basically a way to design 3D printed parts using computer programming. So you kind of write some computer code to make your files. You also have a design software called Mesh Mixer. Mesh Mixer lets you mix with kind of more organic shapes, and this you can use to work with 3D scan data. And then Autodesk Fusion 360 is also another CAD software that will let you actually do CAD. Okay, so the most important thing that you need to know how to use is this Prusa Slicer. So let me open that up. double click, and this will take you to a page that is going to show you what your 3D printer actually looks like. So various software updates come out. I usually go ahead and just install whatever they say. That seems to work fine for me. And here you have the software. So if I hold down the left mouse button while I'm moving it, I can kind of rotate things around. If I hold down the right mouse button, I can pan around. The scroll wheel on the mouse, I can use that to zoom in and zoom out. And I'm going to use all these things to kind of play with this build plate and this software as you're setting up things to print. So if I want to print something, I come up to this box, this add. Click on that, and I've set it up so you have files on the desktop that you can use. You can put them wherever you want. But whatever file you might want, let's say I want to print this gripper thumb terminal device, I go into the files, and I can select one, or I could select two files and load them up. So this would be printing a gripper thumb. If you load multiple files, it doesn't do a great job of automatically placing them. They're both placed right on top of each other, so you need to come up to this top part and click Arrange. And that will reset things up so that the thumb actually moves. And you get the two pieces ready to print. If I want to change the orientation of anything on this, I can do that. So if I want to change where this green thumb is positioned, maybe I want to print it 90 degrees so that it's this part right here, this back wrist kind of portion, is flat on the build plate. I can click this little place on face button, and that will rotate it. So I could do any one of these faces that you see. I could print any kind of orientation I want. I'm going to go back to the original and show one more thing that's of interest. So sometimes the way 3D printing works, you want to actually turn on something called support, because it builds up your print layer by layer by layer. Once I get up to this part of the finger, if I try to print this, it's printing in thin air. So this would fail, and I need to turn on some temporary supports. And what I've done over here is I've set up some print settings, and I've set up this one, 0.2 millimeter quality Mark III Use Me. That one is set up and configured to actually add support material in for you at a typically, probably usually good infill that you want. You can fiddle with this infill button if you'd like. But then most of the files, this Use Me preset setting, so click on that arrow down in the user presets, that will work for most things that you might want to print. And when I'm ready to print this, I click Slice Now. So what that's doing is it's cutting up this thing into layers, and those layers have information to tell the printer where to move the nozzle for each different layer that you're going to build up in this model. And then it spits out this. So this is what the file will look like. This is what will actually print. It's still finishing loading, and once that's done loading, it's going to give us an estimate of how long it's going to take to print. Now I can use my mouse buttons, I can use my right mouse button to pan around, I can use my left mouse button to rotate, and I can see how this is all going to print. Anything in green is going to be temporary material that you're going to pull away, and you're going to be left with only the model. So this is where the software computes that it needs a little bit of extra support material. The other thing we can do in this view is over here, this line with the little half circle at top. If I click on that and drag this downwards, I can see all the individual layers that it's going to create. And I can zoom in so we can get a better view. And you can look at this from all sorts of different perspectives. There we go. There is our model. And it shows you all the layers that it'll print and how it builds up your total model. Every single one of these colors means something different. You can read about those right over here. And then when you're ready to actually print this, you can export the G-code. When you export the G-code, you want to make sure that you put it onto the SD card. So I've included another SD card for you to use. I've called it Prusa SD. So I would just do save right here and save to the SD card. This little green bar will pop up. Usually it's pretty quick, and once this is done, that means that you're ready to actually print this file. And you can go and make sure under this File Explorer and click on your SD card, and sure enough, there is your actual G-code file that is ready to print. and this one would take about 12 hours and 26 minutes the way that we have it. When you're ready to actually print, then you would click down here. You want to safely remove the hardware, and you want to eject your SD card. Once that's ejected and safe to remove, you can take that out and put it in your printer and go from there.